Good morning. Hand today is going to be King 9. We are under the gun and we fold this. But the next player open raises 2.5. He's playing 18-8-3. We've got some notes on him. He's raising, so we kind of have to come up with what's his raise first in stat. We've got 3-bet ranges. We know that's going to be probably in a raise first in range. His 4-bet range is definitely going to, more than likely, going to be in a 4-bet range. I'll call 2 bets from the blinds. Let's see here. It's called 3 bets in position. You got 7s. Out of position, you got ace 9, ace 10 suited, queen jack suited, 5-4 suited. And we do have somewhat of a limping range. Limping range looks to be heavily on offsuit aces right now. It does have 6s. But when we look at percentages, he plays about 16% in EP, 20% mid position. Raise first in stats 14% from EP, 17% from mid P. This is technically early position, or at least what I would say early position. Some would say this was actually middle position. So like the 3, you've got your late position plays, button and cutoff. Then you'd have 3 middle position. Then you have 2 early position players. Others would say the first 2 are always early, and then the middle position might have the 2 players here. If we had 1 less player, you'd have I think then you kind of have maybe these guys are middle position. But anyways, I think we're about 15% or so. So I put together this range. This is 14%. You've got your suited aces, you've got your pocket pairs. I did go pocket pairs down to 5s. I think it's probably going to be raising those pocket pairs. I do have ace jack off. That has popped up in his ranges, 3-bet ranges, and so forth. 4-bet range includes ace jack off, ace jack suited and offsuit. So I'm going to go with this range. I think pretty good. Folds around, big blind raises. He's playing 31, 21, 7. We look at his 3-bet stat, 7%, and you've got 18% in early position. So 2 out of 11. You got 2 out of 47 for mid position, 2 out of 33, 2 out of 39, 5 out of 48, and then the big blind 4 out of 60. This just seems overly high. But when we look at his notes, the only hands that we have for 3 bets are queens plus, ace queen plus, and ace king off. So if he has the ace king offsuit, he's got the ace king suited. You've got called 2 bets from the blinds with jacks. So I would have been inclined to put jacks in like a raising range, in a 3-bet range. It looks like he's calling with those. So I just did a 3-bet range like this, queen plus ace queen. That's only 3.7% or almost 4%. It's lower than the number suggesting, but perhaps he also kind of plays somewhat position or plays the player, you could say, depending on the situation, maybe raise, maybe just call. So I'm just going to go with this range. And then it gets back to him, and he just calls. So are there any hands that he would 4-bet? And that's really the question. Would he 4-bet the aces? Would he 4-bet the kings? And I do have 4-bet range. So I've got 4-bet plus range of aces, 10s, ace king, ace jacks. So if we do that, that would all be ace king, queen jack, 10. And then like all ace jack plus. Let's see if he has any call 3-bet. Call 3-bet in this position 7. We've got ace 10 suited. We've got jack, queen jack suited. We don't have like called 4-bets at all. So maybe that is going to be his 4-bet range. Maybe that is 10 jacks plus. We'll say jacks plus ace jack. Jacks plus ace jack plus, and then all the rest of this gets called. We'll go with that. Does he have a fold to 3-bet after a raise? He doesn't. So that would be... I don't know if there's a note here. Limp call. Fold to 3-bet after raising. Yeah, so only 6 times he's encountered it. So maybe he's just never had that situation. So, yeah, we've got his 3-bet. We got our 4-bet ranges. I'm gonna leave 10s in as a call instead of a raise. Call 3-bets in position. That's questionable. Should we include it? Yeah, let's take it out. We had it. We know we 4-bet with it, so let's keep it out. Oh heck, he did 4-bet. I missed that. I thought he called. No, he did 4-bet. So incidentally, that's gonna be the range that we go for. 10s, ace jack. There we go. All right, so he raised, and then this guy calls. And then he's going to 4-bet range is queens plus. So now we're back to here. We already had 3-bet. He did that. I think at this point, aces is probably going to call. Well, we had called any 4-bet, aces and queens. So I think queens are probably going to be called, always called. We're going to say like 2/3 of the time we would get called by kings. And maybe like half the time you'll get called by aces. And then I think ace king gets called and ace queen gets called in this point. I don't know if this guy, with this range, if he's going to be able to fold. Now, if I encounter this, I'm folding the ace queens probably in a heartbeat. Ace king, if it was ace king suited, I'd probably call. If it was ace king off, I think I'd probably dump my hand. Thing is, though, if you have ace king, you block up the aces and you block the kings. So if an ace or a king comes, you could very well beat the queens and the jack hands that you might see. But in reality, I'm thinking at this point, I'm thinking aces and kings. So we've got this range. We've got pretty strong range versus pretty strong range. Flop comes down, queen 6-2. Villain 7, I expect him to check everything, and then villain 1 bets, and he bets the pot. And at that point, we're looking at, would he bet top pair ace queen? Would he bet that high? Yeah, probably. Would he get all in with the top pair? I don't know. But I think that's all I could see him betting. I think his 10s and jacks are probably just checking behind. But I think that's what we're dealing with here. And then he shoves. And for that, I think he could shove with top pair. I think though he's gonna be hesitant. He's gonna think about kings and aces. So we're gonna say 1/3 of the time maybe he would shove with that. Over pair, probably 100%. And the set, I'm gonna drop that down too, because I kind of think a set in this case is probably gonna be, probably just call with the set, because he's gonna say, I've got a set. What do we do? I think we're just gonna call here and let him bet for us. I kind of feel like that's how a lot of these players would play. This is a 10 NL game, so we'll go back to him. you know, his sizing, does that give any clue? Would he have sized down for the set? Yeah, possibly, unless he's trying to get all in. At this point, yeah, maybe the sizing, maybe the sets. Only 50% of the time he would bet the pot. The other he would do like half pot. Um, yeah, maybe just overpair. I just don't know top pair if top pair would do this for that sizing. So revise that and go overpair. So I think that's it. So I mean, based on what we're betting and calling, it's about a 50-50 shot. Aces versus kings, maybe. Um, so he does call, and that's, you know, with that sizing, do all of these hands call? Yeah, I think top pair might hesitate, but I think eventually he's just gonna call. I think it'd be hard to fold an ace queen. I would be able to fold it because I would just kind of rationalize. All I have is one pair. I've got top pair, top kicker. Would he do that with jacks or tens? No. Would he do that with like ace queen? I don't really see him raising like that with ace queen. Because again, I could easily have had the kings or the aces, so I'm just kind of giving him. Um, so with my ace queen, I'm kind of excluding trips now. We've blocked that, um, so I'm giving him credit for aces or kings at this point. I think that's what I would do. So we get all in. We have the run out jacks and eights. He shows tens. I did not expect him to be showing that. And then he has the aces, so that is there. So he did bet with that ace. So we're going to get a hand here. For RFI, so let's go back and get this RFI 2.5. In under the gun 2 and 4 bet. I guess the raise was kind of like a 3x raise, like a 3.5x raise, and then that was like a min raise. Yeah, and 4 bet min raised with yeah, okay, 10 of clubs, 10 of diamonds. We'll say versus min race versus big blind 4.5 with 10-10. He is IP. He bet pot. Yeah, 100%. Bet 100% and call all in 2x plus. Queen of spades, 6 of hearts, 2 of clubs. Jack of hearts, 8 of clubs. All right. So we've got him, and then we've got to get this guy's notes. So he 3 bet, and he did like 3.5x. Three bet 3.5x in big blind versus under the gun 2 RFI, and called Yeah, that was a 2x. 2x 4 beat. With aces. Ace clubs. He is out of position. Check called, or actually check raised. All in. Check raised, all in. Which is like min raised, maybe. Check raised. 100% C bet to all in. We'll do check raise min raise plus versus 100% C bet. To get all in, and then check. Okay, so let's go fix this other guy here. I think that's our notes. So, and call all in min raise plus. All right, so how did they play? Let's check GTO. All right, so I've got GTO up. Oh, get that over here. We do have the ranges, so this guy's in position or out of position, and we're gonna leave those percentages in there. Now that we know what they actually have, I think the percentages could be okay. I think we're just improving things a bit. Queen 6-2, done. Build tree. Starting pot, 29.5. Effective stack, 68. All right. We will say we bet 100%. Actually, default bet size 50%. We'll do a custom setting for the flop. All right, so we'll run the solver and be back. All right, it's done. Before we take a look at this, just my general comment. 3-bet, 4-bet. It's an aggressive play. I'm not gonna fault him for doing that with tens. It is an aggressive play. If you think this guy, see that's too much. If he's doing that with like ace king, ace queen, you think the guy's gonna call here, and then you get this board, and you get a check. I think typical, it's jacks and tens are gonna check. So I give him credit for betting the size he did. I think the sizing though might be off a little bit. I think the sizing, the way, kind of what I think about it is if he has ace king, which he's, I mean, ace king comprises 16 hands. If he has ace king, he's probably not going to call on this board. He's not going to call a pot size bet, and he's probably not going to call like a half size bet or a third size bet. Maybe he starts to call a third size bet, but I think you'll get him to fold the ace king hands with a smaller bet. And even if he doesn't, if you bet 1/3, try to encourage call by the ace king, that's fine. He's going to call that time. You get a little bit more money for this hand or for this turn card. And then he checks and you can bet again another small size. He probably doesn't call ace king, so like less risk involved. I think you bet that size with like queens as well. So you're gonna have to throw in some like bluff hands. I think ace king though is possibly going to be a check. Check behind, yeah, it's a bluff, but you kind of have to think about what's going to be our value bets, what's going to be our bluffing range. It's entirely possible that we're going to be checking some pretty strong hands just because we don't have a massive range to begin with. So let's see what GTO. I keyed this in, so the C bet is going to be 100% bet initially. I think this guy, did we say 50%? I guess 75% that he bets. I think this is kind of interesting. So he is going to be leading some of the time. I guess somewhat makes sense. He 3-bet, and then he called 4-bet, so he does have a premium hand. So you're going to be really mixing it up. It's going to apply pressure. It's going to apply pressure to the in position players. So you're betting aces. And then you're usually betting kings, and then you're sometimes betting kings. And then to kind of balance those good solid hands, you're going to sometimes bet the ace king, ace queen. That's an interesting way to play. I would not have thought of kind of doing this, and I do think this is going to be this would be a tough way to play. We're going to have to change up some bet sizes, but he did check. And at this point, aces should always be bet. So he did check, and then villains, the other villain, the in position player, should be betting 8.9%. So sometimes bet. So here GTO saying no bet, no check. All right, it's betting, no betting. You should be checking nearly 100% of the time here. So we're at 92%. Sometimes you bet your aces, sometimes you bet your kings. I just think it's kind of tough to do this. So we're going to edit the tree, get this in here. So we're going to add an action. Yeah, that was 75%. So we're going to add an action of 33%. We got a 33%, we got a 75%, and then we've got a check. And then what we're going to do, we're going to leave the raises as is, but this guy we're going to add 33%. And maybe a 50%. So we've kind of enlarged the tree here. So it's going to take a little bit longer to run. It's going to have to run through both of these lines, but I think this might be a little bit better. I think the 33 is closer to what we might see, or 25%. So we're going to accept the changes, we're going to confirm it, and then we'll run the solver, and we'll be back. All right, didn't take us very long. So definitely you could see out of position players favoring the smaller sizing 100% of the time, 9.4. So if given the option between these two scenarios, this is what we're doing. Sometimes check. Sometimes check. So if we sometimes check, then we have sometimes check behind. I think GTO is playing this because it's expecting villain to be betting. It's expecting this guy to be betting most of the time. So when he checks, you're basically saying he's got, very... Yeah, you've got very small percentages. It's not going to be overly strong. I bet that's what's going on here. Because when he checks, then we're still just kind of checking most of the time here. So let's change this. Let's edit the tree one more time, and let's get rid of these bets and really make it to where how villain actually played. He checked 100% of his range here instead of betting, and that should give us a change in what GTO's going to predict. So we'll be back. All right, so 100% check. 100% check still goes for 100% check. So that's at least the GTO play. So what happens with GTO if it goes check check? Let's see what happens. Well, it looked like it had just crashed on me. Yes, it did. Just crashed. So this didn't take very long at all. So I'm going to get this set back up. We're going to get back to the place where it crashed. All right, let's see if this gets us through. We're going to change that to a jack of hearts. Alright, so if it goes check, check, then we're betting 15. We're back to betting. There will be some checks. If he checks, if it goes check, checks through, and then another check, now this guy is going to be betting. Tens are still not really in his betting range. A small percentage, that's about it. But we're betting pocket pairs. So you're betting trips, you're betting the over pairs, you're betting the ace king, ace queen. So those are the same hands where it's like if this guy checks initially, you're leaving the aces and the kings and the ace queen and the queens all in there because you have some of these other weaker hands. So so that's what GTO says. I think the most surprising thing about the GTO is this guy leading. He's going to be leading most of the time in this spot, and I think it's because he's got just that really strong range. He's got aces, kings, queens, and then he mixes in ace king as a bluff, so he's going to be betting most of the time here. That's a play I'm going to have to consider. All right, so hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another.